We're going to make welcome Dr. Patrick Uduma. He is a renowned mediative leadership expert. He has a very strong presence in African leadership circles. He sits on the board of several reputable organizations. And honestly, if I want to read his resume, we will not leave here. So please, can we put our hands together as we make welcome Dr. Patrick Uduma as he briefly speaks to us on bridging interests and building consensus.
What a time, what a moment, what an impactful event to be here. I think you are one of the most privileged generation because enlightenment that comes across your wave is so powerful that you can't be a failure unless you are destined to be a failure. Because on a daily basis, there are an unusual information and conferences going on. Thank you for finding time to be here, and I wish it becomes more productive to you and more engaging. Because I have a short time, thank you again, my dear friend John Best, and all the organizers for inviting me to speak. Bridging interest. I love to talk about it, but I want to say something that diplomacy starts from you yourself. And it's one thing that we don't think about. The moment you have an emotional wound in yourself, you're going to find a mirror of it outside. Every conflict that you see outside is first of all rooted inwardly. So it means that external manifestation is a function of the mirroring of what is inside. If you're peaceful inside, it changes your language, it changes your feelings, it changes your attitude. Your mental attitude automatically changes. So when you see people fighting outside, that fight is not external, it's a representation of fight within. If the within is peaceful, it controls outside, because a trigger is a function of what is inside. So for instance, if you see somebody and you hate that person, it is not that person that is the problem. There is a hate inside that is affecting you that you're going to show outside. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Let me break it down. When you're irritated inside, it will alter your communication. The clarity with which profoundly you're going to deliver is a function of your clarity within. Because once you find clarity, you can find creativity. When you can find creativity, you can find confidence. And when you can find confidence, you can constructively and compassionately deliver. But once there's a lack of creativity within, once you are not clear, as a result of internal wound within, is going to affect your creativity, it's going to affect your confidence, it's going to affect how constructive you are, and it's going to affect your compassion, because the root of diplomacy is compassion. And that compassion will be, first of all, your self-compassion that will translate to external compassion. So if you're internally you are irritated with yourself, you are going to be irritated with others. So because nobody really can make you to be comfortable until you're comfortable with yourself. So if there's no internal reference, there will be no external reaction. So I put few things, 5 things I'm going to talk about if you're going to do. The first one is what I call self-trust. Self-trust is when you convince yourself that you are able to handle any outcome. Because about diplomacy, because outcome is a gift, you cannot have a preference of how it should end. Having a preference what you should means that you don't trust yourself. It means no matter where I'm going to negotiate, the first thing is that I have an open heart because I will trust the outcome, whether it's going to be favorable or not favorable. Because there's what we call preposition, position, and performance. preposition is when you have a concept or an idea or a preference now, and you are rigid in that preference or that concept or that idea or that belief. You're already taking a stand, meaning that it is no, because there's no flexibility blend with purpose. So now when self-trust comes in, the first thing does, it means that there are many doors. So it takes self-respect, self-trust to be able to deliver in clarity. Otherwise, you are dependent on external outcome. The second one is what we call mutual trust. You can't have a mutual trust until you have self-trust. Self-trust is that I can deal with outcome. And this outcome must not be rooted my own preference or my own idea. So you are open to deal with it. And what it does, it gives you a calming effect. You're not going to war to win. You're going to war to ensure that you embrace. So if you don't have self-trust, it will not engender mutual trust. The third thing you're going to talk about is what they call the kind energy. Kind energy is so powerful because you're not kind until you're kind to the unkind. What it means that if you're not kind to yourself, it'll be difficult for you to be kind to other people. Now, judgment of people will always alter the outcome. So what it means that the more less judgmental you are on yourself, the more less judgmental you are on others. So the more you judge yourself, the more you condemn yourself, the more you're going to condemn others. So what we call kind energy is to recognize that non-judgmental will give you an open access to be able to interact with other people. You're not kind until you're kind to the unkind. And once you stop being unkind to yourself, the flexibility to blend with purpose emerges. The second one is what we call the shared feelings. Shared feelings. Shared feeling is if you're going somewhere, how you feel before you leave have a tone to dictate your communication level. It can impair. That's why for some time, for instance, like assuming you're going to get a cab and the cab didn't come on time and that cab man upsets you. In that state of upset, is going to alter your feelings and you're likely going to negotiate from that distorted feeling and it will not give you clarity and your communication will not be constructive, will not be compassionate. And finally, what they call the future blend. He said the reason negotiations are important, you may not win today, but how you leave from that negotiation will open an access door to be reinvited. Some people go for negotiation and diplomacy and they will shut it based on their feeling because the outcome did not favor them based on preposition, position, and performance. So what I want to leave with you here is that fundamentally is that you can only advocate when you're advocating for yourself. Self-condemnation will be others' condemnation. So when we share self-trust and you have mutual trust and you have kind energy and you have shared feelings, then you can have mutual blends. Thank you so much.